What happens when your entire business model is based on misleading your audience, or at least if you believe the allegations and claims of that? Certainly, places like CNN give us a lot to consider, and it's why you have stories like this one popping up recently. CNN ratings have sunk to an all-time low in a vital demographic for advertisers as left-leaning networks plummet after a Donald Trump win. Yeah, I wonder why that may have happened. Maybe it's because many of these networks were telling people for months that there was no way that Donald Trump could possibly win, or that the race was very close, very tight, and Kamala was going to eke it out. Yeah, none of that actually happened, and people just don't believe them anymore. But what's going to happen next in 2025, we hope, will be something spectacular. And that is, fingers crossed, that David Zaslav finally has an opportunity to clean house.
Renegade Online.
The American public just simply do not trust the media. And it ties into this story here, okay? CNN is having some serious problems. CNN is really having some serious problems. And I flagged this one earlier. Just in, CNN has hit its lowest total day demo rating ever in the 24 to 54 viewer demo. Since Trump's win, CNN's primetime viewership fell by 52%, this according to the Daily Mail. These are disaster levels. The lowest demo rating ever for 24 to 54 demo. Let me explain what that means for those of you out there that don't get it. The 24 to 54 demographic means people between the ages of 24 and 54 years old. That is the candy demographic, right? That is the demographic group. If you break television viewership down by money, that is the demo group. That is the heart and soul, the core of the demo group that you want to have watching whatever you're watching. If you get nobody under the age of 18 and nobody over the age of 54, but you've got 10 million people or 2 million people or 5 million people watching you that are 24 to 54, that's who advertisers want. And they want it because those are the people that, number one, tend to have, on average, more disposable income, and they're spending their money. They have kids, they're married, they have families, they buy cars, they shop for stuff. That is the demographic group that you absolutely want to just be a banger at. This is also why Disney Plus is absolutely failing. Just FYI. Because they have almost none of that demo group. If you're a 24-hour news organization like CNN, you depend on that demo group. Let me tell you where they all are. Fox News. When it comes to 24-hour news networks, because they ain't at MSNBC anymore, and even the demo group that fit that 24 to 54 that were watching MSNBC, you're talking about a bunch of, well, you've all seen the blue and purple hair people. They're not buying anything. These are the same people screaming about, male-dominated patriarchy in video games, but they're not buying any of the video games they're actually complaining about, right? Same people. Now CNN doesn't even have them. They're so depressed. They're so dejected after this recent election that they've all just pieced out. I don't know where maybe they all went to Blue Sky. They're probably all having a giant circle jerk on Blue Sky. That would not surprise me in the least. Hey, Elon is saying that X is the biggest source of news in the world. Let's make it on Blue Sky too. I mean, I can totally see this nonsense happening. Go for it. Go for it by all means. Please go for it. But CNN is in deep doo-doo. And I want to remind folks, as I said on X earlier today, please make sure y'all follow me over there on X, right? Almost there. I'm a smidge. I'm a hair away from getting subscriptions approved over on X. I just need more people seeing the tweets or seeing the posts, whatever they're called now on X. Let me tell you, the funny thing about this is that for all their whining and complaining, the reality is they're not going to be able to fix it. And right now, this is David Zaslav's best and most golden opportunity that he has ever had at Warner Brothers. And for those of you that don't remember the story here, I'll regale you with it briefly because we've covered it here on the Renegade Nation for years. In 2022, in May, the deal was closed. The merger was done. AT&T had spun off Warner Brothers. They were sick of it. Warner Brothers was a dying brand. AT&T was sold a bill of goods, if you remember. Time Warner, think back before AT&T. Time Warner and all that stuff. Hey, look, we're building a new DC universe. Marvel is doing great right now over at Disney. They're killing it. This was years before we reached Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. Marvel's killing it. We've got DC. We've got all these. We've got Zack Snyder building a DC universe over there. Everything's great. You're going to make so much money. AT&T and their stockholders bought it hook, line, and sinker. We've got CNN. CNN's great. Bought it hook, line, and sinker. Everything else coming in from Warner Brothers. Hey, we've got these new Harry Potter movies going into development. It's called Fantastic Beasts. They're going to make even more money than the original Harry Potter movies. Again, a song and dance, a bill of goods, a pile of dog crap. AT&T and their shareholders said, cool. Sounded like a good deal. Brought it in. And then everything summarily failed. The DC universe failed. The Harry Potter spinoffs absolutely ridiculously failed. Then the whole thing about Johnny Depp got involved. Of course, that was another issue. CNN, a total trash fire. AT&T was trying to get out from under this huge mistake, and they couldn't do it fast enough. So they called in David Zaslav. David Zaslav is like the Antichrist in Hollywood, which is great. That's who you want to be friends with if you're normal American people. David Zaslav is the guy that for years has built up and very successfully run the Discovery family of networks. Discovery, Food Channel, HDTV, all that kind of stuff. True TV, all that. That's David Zaslav. David Zaslav has a reputation of taking very low-budget, simple reality shows. This is the man who made the reality show what it is. He said, I don't have to spend a lot of money producing very popular content, and I will get the demographics that we need to make this sing. And he did. And AT&T said, hey, David, we have got to get rid of Warner Brothers. It is killing us right now. It is swimming in debt. It's a mess. We don't know how to fix it, and everybody here that we have right now sucks. Will you help us? David Zaslav said, yes, I want to do it, because that's just who Zaslav is. AT&T, in a very complicated measure, spun out, this was called a reverse Morris Trust. They spin out Warner Brothers from AT&T into a trust, which then David Zaslav comes in with his Discovery network system. And then they merge together and then come out of the trust as a newly merged company. It's done for tax reasons. It's highly complex, very expensive to do. But we're about to find out in the next couple of years if this is going to be successful. So David Zaslav now controls Warner Brothers, all those assets. We haven't even seen a David Zaslav truly movie yet. We're about to. Tomorrow morning, we get the new teaser trailer for Superman that James Gunn is doing. All that was put together by David Zaslav. David Zaslav tried to save The Flash, but there was nothing doing. Wasn't his movie. Aquaman 2, wasn't his movie. Shazam 2, wasn't his movie. Black Adam, not Zaslav's movie. Those were some of the things that David Zaslav was saddled with when he came in to take over Warner Brothers. That was stuff, that was crap that was already in the pipeline that he knew he was just going to have to poop out, and so he could clear the decks and move on. CNN is one such load of poop. Long story to get to where we are here, but I think it's important that everybody understands the situation with CNN. Zaslav, to this point, has not been able to do much with CNN. They tried to clean house. They got rid of guys, the egghead, the retard like Brian Stelter, right? They got rid of him because nobody liked him. He was trash. Other people out there have gone on. CNN is still a dumpster fire. CNN is still doing stuff like this where they're freeing terrorists from a Syrian prison and calling it a win because they didn't even know what they were doing, or they staged it or something else. I mean, CNN is stupid. But the beauty of this story and the point of all this is that it may finally, and I'm hoping, give a guy like David Zaslav, whose only concern is, can I make money with it, might finally give him the impetus to clean house at CNN. Fingers crossed. This kind of story, along with CNN collapsing right now, plus what we're seeing from places like Disney, with Trump coming in, we're seeing Hollywood start to bend the knee repeatedly because they are starting to recognize that, okay, we can't bullshit the American public anymore. We've been trying really hard for years, but it's not working. Earlier this year, the 2-year, we'll call it for lack of better words, the 2-year cooling off period for Warner Brothers came to an end, which means a lot of handcuffs in terms of mergers and acquisitions that Warner Brothers, big deals that Warner Brothers and David Zaslav may have wanted to do over the last couple of years that he couldn't do because of that, because of the reverse Morris Trust, because of the spinoff and everything else. Some of those handcuffs, or a lot of those handcuffs, have come off now. So I expect to see 2025, I expect to see Zaslav making some big moves. And I'm hoping that one of them starts right here with this freaking Tijuana donkey show that is CNN. And I think he will. I'm betting right now that that we are going to see some serious changes at CNN in the next 12 months. Because Zaslav is tired of looking at this kind of stuff and being embarrassed by it. And remember, David Zaslav was the guy who the first thing he did when he walked through the door as the new CEO of Warner Brothers and the new commander-in-chief over CNN, which is CNN is a tiny little small potato of that empire. It really is. It doesn't seem like it, but it is. CNN had just launched their streaming service like 2 weeks before David Zaslav took over. And his first day on the job basically was to terminate CNN streaming service. How many of y'all forgot about that? The first thing David Zaslav did was to kill CNN Plus. Hollywood, they hate him. Think about how much Hollywood adores Bob Iger and kisses his butt. As much as they love Bob Iger is about as much as they hate David Zaslav. That's why we need to really love David Zaslav. He's not perfect. And like I've reminded people in the past, it doesn't mean that a company like Warner Brothers is not going to make quote-unquote woke stuff. If David Zaslav thinks, hey, I can spend $5 million making a reality show about a transgender couple, and I'll make $20 million in ad revenue from it, he'll do it. Because it's just about money to him. It's business. But what he's not going to do, as we get into our next story, is like the Walt Disney Company, who would spend $200 million to push LGBTQ politics and lose their ass. David Zaslav is not inclined to do that. So, appropriate amount of investment that correlates to the expected amount of return is something that Zaslav understands that Disney does not.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.